What did you say? Can I make a call really quick or no? I don't have time. I have to. It's my daughter. It's about my daughter's boot.
We'll just get things moving. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
For liberty and justice for all.
All right, the clerk can now call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh is also absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Councilmember Costi.
Present.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Council President Matavetsky.
Present.
Thank you. And we can move on to the Village Board of Trustees and then Johnson City Mayor, Mayor Meany.
Present.
Trustee Jacina. She's absent. Trustee Giblin. Trustee Walker. Trustee Brown.
Present.
Thank you.
And we needed 7 to convene, and we are at 8 with Councilwoman Middleton, who's just off to the side there. Okay. So our speakers tonight, do we have speakers that come down? Welcome down. Billy Goodson and Elliot Wagner. And for those watching, this is the Binghamton Johnson City joint meeting relating to the sewage board budget hearing. Welcome.
Hello.
All right, if you want to give us a bit of an overview, that would be great.
Okay. On Thursday, I believe it was, I sent over a highlights packet. We'd like to stay, yes, we'd like to stay on track by line. If you have any questions, feel free to ask when we're on that line, but it's easier if we don't jump ahead or, just stay within the budget by line. Some things to point out, we did have an increase in our operations budget this year because of significant increase to the electrical line and the insurance lines. NICEAG was approved for 24% increase over 3 years. In 2024, they got 6.6%. In 2025, they're gonna get another 7.3%, if I remember correctly. So that has impacted our operations budget. Also, both insurance, our liability insurance and healthcare insurance. It's also, we're seeing a significant increase in that too. You'll also see the depreciation's been added to this budget. We've been here a couple of times in the last month or so to add, because the auditors told us that it needed to be included in our budgets going forward since we changed to the ES fund. Maintenance agreements, we're going to see a big increase in those as well. The maintenance agreements that we had with the construction are now expiring, and we are going to have to take responsibility for them. For the microturbines, that's $100,000 a year, just as an example. We also had generators.
And Neuros blowers. These are all things that the guys don't have the expertise to repair. And if we want to stay with the vendor, we will have to have a certified rep work on them.
So to knowing that these increases are coming, we tried to do the best we could to slim down other lines. We're still at 7.75% increase in our operations budget over last year. I'm not sure how you would like us to move forward. Do we want to go through each line?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that
Starting
that's
with
how
the,
I watched last year's, so it seemed to be
Okay.
how we did last year.
so we'll start with the revenue lines. IWPP ES.42122 requesting $1,233,411. This is to cover Frito-Lay.
Frito-Lay and the water plant.
Sewer service, other government, ES.42374. Proposed budget is $24,539,814. ES.42401, interest and earnings, $250,000.
What are you basing that on?
That's based on mostly our
What was it?
capital reserve.
And what's in the capital reserve?
We had initially a little $1.3 million put into the capital reserve under several different lines. And we're in a high yield account, NICLAS account.
So you're basing this revenue on 1.3 million?
Yes,
Is that the total in that line, that budget, the 1.3 million, or is there more?
it's higher now. I don't know exactly what it is at this point.
Yeah.
Comptroller Robinson, do you want to sit up here?
Is it cash balance?
Yeah.
10 million.
We can get you a chair. Comptroller, if you would like to sit with us.
Well, I mean, if you have 10 million in cash, wouldn't you be using that figure to calculate your interest earnings versus the 1.3 million?
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. Thank you.
ES.42650, sale of scrap and excess materials, $1,500. ES.42665, minor sales permits, $500.
Sure.
What do people usually get the permits for?
This is revenue.
Okay.
Um.
All right, so
I don't do much with the revenue side. I'm the account,
If-
the liability.
if we
side.
do anything with IWPP is typically where we would get revenue sourced for a permit or a fine.
And how many do you see a lot of permits or?
Not very many at all.
Thank you.
Moving on to page 2. ES.49999, fund balance for budget, $8,754,769.36.
Can you explain that fund balance, please?
Robinson,
Takers?
Chuck Robinson. The 8 million for fund balance. That's the offset for depreciation minus the principal from Village of Johnson City.
Right,
City of.
yeah, that's the, to budget the balance the budget for. There you go. Now I'm stuck. Yeah, that's to balance the budget. It's the offset of depreciation and the principal payments between Johnson City and the city of Binghamton. And you'll see that in the depreciation line probably, but it shouldn't be there.
Thank you.
One question I have on ES 42770 miscellaneous and classified revenues. We expended 148.69 in 23 and our there's no budget. I'm sorry. That's me, revenue.
I just had a random question too. ES, can you just explain what ES stands for?
It's the Enterprise System Fund.
Okay, so it's a separate fund from our fund, the general fund.
Yes, yep.
Thank you.
We'll go through there are several pages that we do not budget for. ES 1994.54999. This is for the depreciation. As part of the audit, we found out that we need to now add this to our budget. The proposed amount is 16,091,299.36. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving on to sewage collection system. ES 8120.54000.COB. Request for $3,047,589. And ES 8120.54000 VJC, $1,516,647.
What's driving the change in those numbers?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
These are your costs, local systems costs.
Thank you.
Okay. ES 8130.51000 JS1SL, salaried personnel services. Budgeted amount $900,222.
And again, how did we come at this figure?
This is a 5% increase over last year. Based on the hourly increase plus CPI. We're trying to keep our rates equal to the hourly employees.
And I had a question. Who makes the determination on who gets the raises? Like, who, is it like the superintendent? Is it the union? Like, does the union set it?
The union is separate from the salaried employees. The union contract has an annual increase of 2.5%. And then there is a CPI included in that contract that says if the CPI is over 2.5%, then they get the difference. This year, we're looking at over 5%, including that CPI.
So there's no negotiations with the finance committee or anybody, personnel committee on what this is just something that you guys put into the budget?
This was approved by the board. We put, Elliot and I put it in the budget, and then the board approved the numbers that we gave to them.
So this was bargained between the board and the union members.
No, I understand, but you guys aren't the union
So
members. You're not contractual.
the salaried number actually came from myself
Okay.
to maintain the wage separation and to give motivation to the hourly employees to join the management team. Salaried employees are also employees and they need to be compensated equally.
I agree, but when you're talking salary parity, when you've got somebody making a lower wage, the percentage compared to somebody making a higher wage, if you're saying across the board 5%, 5% on somebody's salary that's at the top level is quite a bit more than somebody that's coming in at the entry position.
Understood.
So is there any way we could pare that down a little bit, maybe to 4%?
Or different for different positions?
Yeah.
There's 12 different positions here. 5%, like Mayor said, is different for each position.
We're definitely, open to negotiation. I mean,
Okay,
this isn't written in stone.
Right.
That's why we're here.
sure. No. I was just, me personally, I don't know, I think 4% with what's going on is, to me personally, is quite fair based on what we did with the employees of the Village of Johnson City. We kind of took a look at it and when we did the salary increases, the higher positions got 3% and then it was stepped toward 3.5%. And then the people that were, way up, they did receive a 5% pay raise because that was a pay raise. Where our higher paid employees, the uniform services, a 3% pay raise was a pay raise for them.
Understood.
So I've just, I was just throwing a number 4% out there to see if, I think that, in my opinion, is fair and equitable.
And does it have to be uniform throughout, or could it be 3%, 4%, 5%? Staggered?
That will definitely complicate things, but
It's an option.
you know,
It can be
it's
done.
definitely, we're agreeable to suggestions.
And I know our city council members, we got the baselines. We asked our HR to benchmark, and some of the positions were well, they were all towards the lower end of the benchmarking, but some of them were more low than others. So there might be some that are it might be something to look at.
Yeah. We have 2 employees that are significantly lower than others. So,
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate, but I just to make it simple and then maybe moving forward, we look at more of a step, but I would propose a 4% pay raise instead of a 5% pay raise.
so that would change it to 883,124.32.
Anyone in disagreement with that?
You would need 9 votes for the super majority under the.
It's not, isn't 8 a super majority?
If it's in the budget, why
Nine
would
is
we
super?
need the super majority?
Need a super majority from capital project changes. So we can grab a copy of that. We can look at that specific issue for changes.
Yeah, this isn't capital.
No,
Super majorities for capital, regular budget, and a simple majority, but we'll look to see if it's changes from the previously proposed. We can just look at a copy of it. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. So if you want to put a tab on that, you guys can keep going.
Absolutely, yep.
So we don't slow you down.
okay. ES 8130.51000.JS2HR, personal services 8 hourly. Proposed budget is $2,223,470. ES 8130.51699.JS2HR, salary adjustment hourly, $125,000.
Yeah, can you explain that as well? What is driving that up and what is salary adjustment hourly?
That is to cover the CPI. We're going to have to pay. After we find out what the salary adjustment is gonna be in October, after we find the CPI for October, it'll come out in November.
Okay.
We'll pay them out in December for that increase. And then we will have to come back here and change it to everyone here, to change the 2.5 that we have in here right now to include that rate increase. So that'll happen in January. And then it'll happen potentially again in next November, because we're gonna have another CPI increase.
Right, okay.
And 2025 is the last year of the contract for the CPI, so
Is contingency a better spot for this money instead?
this is where we've put these in the past.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. ES 8130.51900.JS2HR, overtime hourly. Proposed budget is $55,000. Yes, 8130.52000. Equipment and capital outlay, $1,500.
11.
11,000. Thank you. $500. ES 8130.52001. Office equipment, $1,000. ES 8130.52017. Equipment and capital bridge crane, $55,000.
Excuse me, by the way, thank you for answering those. I got some questions to you guys prior to, and I thank you for the answers for that.
You're welcome. ES
I'm- I missed my spot here to ask a question. Did the laser cutter end up saving us money? Just as a follow-up from last year.
We're still in the process of setting that up. It came in damaged by the shipping company, so we're waiting for a replacement.
Thank you.
ES 8130.52018. Equipment and capital methanol flame arresters, $20,000. ES 8130.52019. Scrubber louvers, $25,000. ES 8130.52020. Equipment and capital, 2 micro turbine pumps, $14,000. ES 8130.52021. DN pump VFD, $21,000.
Billy, can we go back to the micro turbine pumps real quick? I know there was like a lot of conversation that we had about micro turbines earlier this year. And seeing that there's a line in here for $100,000 maintenance contract, was there ever like a cost benefit analysis that looked favorably towards the micro turbines efficiency or what they're producing?
We track the micro turbine production daily, and it is definitely falling off.
So it's falling off there.
We need to produce $275 worth of electricity per day to offset a $100,000 maintenance agreement. And based on the water that's available to run these micro turbines, we don't seem to be able to run enough water through the system with the pumps that we have. If we increase the size of the pumps, we should be able to meet the requirement for that. And we are also dealing with a sludge issue. A sludge quality issue.
Okay, so that's a little unsettling to me because we're like about to enter, or if we haven't already entered, the 5-year contract and for equipment that's not performing as we want it to. So that makes me a little hesitant.
So unfortunately, the maintenance agreement is through the vendor or a vendor, if you will. The system was engineered by an engineering outfit. So the microturbine rep or maintenance vendor really can't be held responsible for the production as long as the microturbines are running. So their stance is these microturbines can run, you got to get some water to them.
So I'm assuming there's a plan to make that happen.
That's what these pumps will hopefully do.
All right.
And if we can work our way through our sludge quality issues, our incoming sludge quality issues, that would help us greatly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. ES 8130.52200 furniture, $700. ES 8130.52300 hardware, software, $16,000. ES 8130.52401 key system, $3,000. ES 8130.52601 safety equipment, $14,250. And that's it for that page. Did we get an answer on
We
the,
need one more person to vote.
okay. Okay. ES 8130.53002 accounting service, $40,000. ES 8130.54001.cob, $1,614,314.
Can you explain that one for me? How we went from like a 5.5 million in debt service down to 1.6?
The 1.6 is interest only. The principal is that's what's deducted from the depreciation.
Thank you.
ES 8130.54001.BJC, $1,409,343. ES 8130.54101 office supplies, $8,000. ES 8130.54103 printing, $1,500. ES 8130.54112 gasoline and diesel, $25,000.
So that was another one that the discussion was a little bit fleshed out last year, that this is a line that you're continuing to reduce. So how did that work out last year with the reductions and
For the gas diesel,
yeah,
we've encumbered so far $7,925. So we still have. What we usually do is top off our diesel generators at the end of the year. That's it, right?
so you expect to be close to 25 and not the 27 by the end of the year.
Yes, yeah. ES 8130.54114 lubricants, $12,000. ES 8130.54125 building and ground supplies, $19,500. ES 8130.54149 laboratory supplies, $85,000. ES 8130.54150 chemicals, $1,743,200.
Where are we saving on chemicals, or is it just a budget adjustment?
It's an adjustment. Last year when we budgeted for chemicals, we didn't have our ferric or polymer contracts in. So we budgeted expecting a substantial increase like everything else back then. And we didn't end up having that much of an increase. And we're in a 3-year contract with both now.
Thank you.
ES 8130.54191 protective clothing, $45,000.
Excuse me, Billy, can you give me a second on, I just got a quick question on methanol. Are we bidding that out?
We just bid that out this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, all of these we bid out every 3 years, or if they don't want to
Okay.
continue. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, ES 8130.54201, gas heat, $205,000.
Again, that's a pretty big jump. When we've encumbered 89,000 with 3 months left.
The final 3 months are usually some of the coldest. And it's pretty hard for us to keep that sludge in a 1,000,000 gallon and 2 377 million gallon tanks.
Billings in the year to date are only for July, which is the lag in the billing.
Yeah, so we have 5 more months to go from here.
Thank you.
ES 8130.54202, electricity, $1,085,000.
Yeah, now you said that this is being driven by NICEAG.
Partly by NICEAG and
What about consumption? Is that going up? Because what NICEAG's delivery, correct?
delivery and supply. We were with Constellation last year for supply, and we had been with them for several years at a substantially low rate. And we since stopped or ended our contract with Constellation and stayed with NICEAG. And we're looking at about a 2% increase just for the supply.
I mean, because you're budgeting in a 29% increase.
Right, and we're at $535,000 already for this year through July.
This says through 8/14.
Right, but the bill that we
It's
had
lagged.
is for July. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Is a possibility of going back to Constellation next year?
We're actually seeing a reduction. I'm keeping track of the cost between NICEAG and if we had gone with Constellation's quoted amount. And so far, we're saving $60,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome. ES 8130.54203, electricity plant pump station, $110,000. ES 8130.54204, electricity terminal pump station, $95,000. ES 8130.54210, telephone, fax, internet, $25,000. That encumbered amount has we do a blanket PO at the beginning of the year, so we're not gonna see over that amount. ES 8130.54221, water, $160,000. ES 8130.54300, insurance, $475,000.
Yeah, Billy, no, thank you again for the explanation, because that was a question I had. When was the last time this was sent out for RFP?
What? The insurance?
Yeah.
We are in the process of putting together an RFP for the broker. But the broker that we have goes out for quotes from 3 different agencies each year.
Right, but have you tried different brokers, putting it out to different brokers? Because
We are in the
when we
process.
did that, in Johnson City, we saw significant savings
Okay.
in both health and the property and casualty, the liability end.
Yeah, we've been working on an RFP for 5 months
Okay.
to go out for this year,
All right.
for 2025.
Thank you.
You're welcome. ES 8130.54410, professional services, $105,630. ES 8130.54412, board member services, $49,000.
And what's driving the cost of that? The increase in that?
The board requested an increase of the max paid out from $7,300 to $8,000 for regular board members and $8,000 to $9,000 for the chairman.
So that's just on their request?
Mhm.
And we could act on that if we want. I mean, there's some things I was looking at, like the, was it the spot check or when they're going through the bills? They do that weekly
Yeah,
and there's not a lot. I mean, maybe it's not a lot of savings, but it's a little savings where if they did it twice a month instead of 4 times a month, that would help shave a little bit of the cost down.
I agree.
Can we institute that?
Well,
we can't
we can't vote on it.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure when we have enough, if we want it as a topic for discussion, when we have enough to vote on it, I think that's something we should discuss.
I was looking at the description that was sent to you of the charges and, there is a monthly fee of $150 that's supposed to go towards research and that type of stuff.
Right.
And I think that it would be best if we do that instead of paying them $75 for the research each time they do the research and the
Right.
spot checks. That would reduce it considerably as well.
And my next question is committee meetings. To me, in my mind, a committee is more than one person.
Mhm.
So if there's committee meetings and it's only one person going to these things like bid openings and the like, is that necessary?
That should be under the $150 a month.
Right.
If you ask me, yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Billy, I don't mean to jump back, but just going back to the insurance, did that include the new appraisal as well?
Yes,
Didn't we have, so that was a big jump of that
Yes.
increase as well.
and we also had to include, we found out that we needed underground storage liability insurance, which is an additional
Okay, thank you.
amount.
I assumed that, but I just wanted to make sure.
ES 8130.54430, $60,000. ES 8130.54434, payroll services, $12,000. ES 8130.54435, emergency confined space rescue services, $5,250. ES 8130.54436, laboratory services, $89,000. ES 8130.54450, vehicle repair, $28,000. ES 8130.54520, equipment lease rental, $16,100.
Excuse me on that one.
Yep,
I see, there's stuff in here like a forklift, which we're renting for a 2-week period, or it's an estimate of a 2-week period. As we think long-term, would something like that be a purchase we would look to make long-term? Because I'm sure the life of a fork truck, it's a long service life. And at the end of the day, we might cut that expense.
Then you would incur maintenance costs over the course of the year, plus the liability of owning something like that, The lifts that they're talking about are like a genie boom with a 30 or 40-foot reach,
Okay,
and we use them very rarely.
okay, so it's not your typical
Just-
forklift that's listed that states your forklift $3,800.
Yeah, once a year, we have to calibrate or at least verify the laser elevation detector of our digesters, and we need a 40-foot reach genie boom, so.
Okay. When in my mind, I'm thinking forklift, something, to be moving equipment, palletized
Yeah,
Up
that's,
around.
we have a skid steer that we utilize as a forklift.
Okay, thank you.
Is that equipment something that no other municipality in the area would have either? Because I believe both the city and the village are members of the county IMA that allows for shared equipment. Have you guys ever looked at that? Or you can just borrow it from whatever county or town or city might have it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
So if somebody else has that equipment, you should ask around. It might save you some money.
okay, thank you. ES 8130.54610, building equipment improvements and maintenance, $8,500. ES 8130.54620, equipment repairs and maintenance, $12,500. ES 8130.54621, equipment and pump repairs, mechanical, $120,000. ES 8130.54621A, equipment and pump repairs, electrical, $93,000. ES 8130.54621E, equipment and pump repairs, safety, $4,000.
Billy, can you back up for a second on
Yep.
I think this is the right spot. The repairs, and I don't know if it's electric or across the board, but historically, the budget has been huge and very little has been spent. In 2018, $120,000 was budgeted, $2,700 was expended. In 19, $108,000 was budgeted, $18,000 was expended. 2020, $75,000 was budgeted, $5,525 was expended. It seems like you put a lot into that line. And
No worries.
I'm not sure which line you're looking at.
you've requested $216,715. It's got to be for the equipment. The maintenance budget. the
Maintenance agreement?
Yeah,
Uh,
That's only, that's. Okay,
did I get ahead of myself? I'm sorry.
yeah. So.
Yeah, it's like-
agreement.
Okay, so we haven't gotten to that one.
No,
We're
we haven't
just
gotten there
getting to
yet.
That one.
Okay.
Almost there.
No, I was just, when when you was saying equipment pump, because I had that over here. Thank you.
Okay. Did I do safety for $4,000? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. ES 8130.54656, maintenance agreements, $357,415. Here's your question.
That one.
Yeah, on the next page, you'll see the detail. Also, this is the section where the construction project included 5-year maintenance agreements with some of the larger and more specialized equipment, such as the Capstone micro turbines, the Neros turbo blowers, to name a few. Unfortunately, those contracts are pretty pricey, and we're trying to negotiate as best we can. But we will have to incur that burden, where for the last 5 years, we've kind of been on scholarship.
I'd like
Okay.
to know also
I think
that,
that's-
for example, Neuros blowers has been in our budget for the last 3 years, and we have not been able to get an RFP passed through the board, which is an issue for us to be able to move forward at the plant, and to use these budgeted numbers. So that's why we're seeing that a lot of the budget is not being.
So it's more dealing with the board. Okay, thank you.
ES 8130.54701, travel and training, $30,000. ES 8130.54701A, Travel and Training Board, $1,000. ES 8130.54702, subs, dues, and memberships, $3,100. ES 8130.54801, industrial pretreatment, $105,000. ES 8130.54802, permit fees and fines, $22,500. ES 8130.54804, sludge and waste disposal, $420,000. ES 8130.55000, contingency, $240,000. Okay, state retirement, ES 9010.58000A.JS1SL, state retirement salaried, $131,686. ES 9010.58000A.JS2HR, $310,333. Social Security, ES 9030.58000B.JS1SL, Social Security salaried, $71,012. ES 9030.58000B.JS2HR, hourly Social Security, $178,391. Workers' compensation, ES 9040.58000D.JS1SL, workers' comp salaried, $25,000. ES 9040.58000D.JS2HR, workers' comp hourly, $65,000. Unemployment insurance, ES 9050.58000E.JS1SL, unemployment insurance salaried, $0. ES 9050.58000E.JS2HR, unemployment hourly, $5,000. Disability insurance, ES 9055.58000F.JS1SL, disability insurance salaried, $135. ES 9055.58000F.JS2HR, disability hourly, $101. Health insurance, ES 9060.58000C.JS1SL, health insurance salaried, $172,000.
So any indication what's driving the 17% increase?
For health insurance, the insurance carriers go to the state to request an amount. At the time, they requested 17%. I think they were approved for 12.5%.
Are they trying to negotiate a better rate?
No,
Your broker isn't?
the broker might. We haven't, this is based on our estimates. We haven't gotten numbers from our broker yet.
Who's the broker?
HFC, Taylor, Fryer and Coon.
Yeah, I would definitely press them to get you guys.
They were supposed to have something to us by the beginning of this month.
And again, this is something you could also RFP to different brokers and
Correct.
you might see some savings.
Yes.
One thing you should be aware of is that we're what's called a model. So they're regulated through the New York State Division of Financial Services. We're not a large group where you can have those.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I thought small group Excellus was just over 10 point some percent too, so you might want to just look into that as well.
Can you speak into the mic?
Oh, sorry about that. I think the Excellus rate was just over 10.9% or something like that, not the 12 that you might have mentioned.
Okay.
So statewide, correct. Or upstate New York, this area, yeah.
ES 9060.580000C.HR, health insurance hourly, $517,000.
So have you have more employees now in hourly and less in salaried? Is that-
Yes, we have
Okay.
36 hourly employees, no, 35 hourly employees and 11 salaried.
Is that due to like someone retiring, people retiring? Or-
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Oh, the union members. Okay. Thank you.
ES 9060.58001C.JS1SL, health insurance buyout salaried, $10,000. ES 9060.58001C.JS2HR, health insurance buyout hourly, $20,000. ES 9060.58002C, health insurance retirees, $100,000.
Billy, why did that drop off?
We've noticed over the last, couple of years that we have been putting too much money into that budget. And we've also had, several spouses that moved into the, Aetna plan or will be in 2025.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other employee benefits? Yeah. 9089.58100.JS1SL, sick time buyback salaried, $28,000.
Why such a big jump there?
Me too.
Because there's a potential for a couple of our employees to retire in 2025. And we want to make sure that we have money in the budget. ES 9089.58100.JS2HR, sick time buyback hourly, $20,000. ES 9089.58101.JS1SL, vacation buyback salaried, $27,000. ES 9089.58101.JS2HR, vacation buyback hourly, $18,800, $807.
So again, these, as a group, I mean, we were expending in 2023, a little under 50,000. 2024, we budgeted 78. And we've jumped that another 15. You have that many more people you anticipate retiring?
Yes.
Okay.
It depends on the salary of the employees that are retiring. That makes a difference on it too.
Well, sure, sure. It's okay. And I expect that generally happens at the end of the year. That's why we only have under 5,000 expended now, and then it all happens in a chunk at the end generally. Yes.
For vacation or sick time is paid out in the beginning of the year. And then anyone who happens to retire also gets their sick time paid out at a certain, for depending on when they were hired.
Okay.
And that is it.
So we are we have one more council member that was able to join us, so we are at the number, right? So if we wanted. Is there an interest in? There were two items that were discussed. Let's see, one of them was the potentially reducing the percentage from 5% to 4% for the personnel, the salaried personnel. What was it? The other one, yes, the was the stipend discussion for board
Correct, for the board
members.
members.
So do we want to revisit those?
Yeah, I think if we have a forum now where we could take action on them, that then we can maybe even move through and do the budget and.
So is there a motion to reduce from 5% to 4% for ES 8130.71000
JS1 SL.
Yes, thank you.
I'll make the motion. I'll second that.
Motion by Councilman Costi, seconded by
Trustee Brown,
Justin Brown.
Trustee
Yes.
Brown,
Trustee Brown. Thank you.
Madam Brown.
Just discussion.
Think it's the right move to make. It's fair, it's equitable, lowers it a little bit. Different salary positions, 5% across the board is a lot. I think 4% right now is a good step.
Anyone else? So the other thing that had been raised was the kind of difference in the
Madam
ranges.
President, since that was a motion, should we
Yeah.
vote on that alone before we move
Okay.
on to the next item?
Okay, so I mean, because there was the alternate. Okay.
Good, because it affects different lines of the budget.
Yeah, no, I was talking about the discussion that we had on potentially having difference of percentages.
I'm
depending on-
okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and whether or not we want to think about that before we vote on this.
Mr. Wagner created a spreadsheet for us that shows increases from 1% to 4%. So we can, if we want to decide on a step, then I can calculate it today. If you want to do that, or if you want to just leave it at 4% across the board.
I personally, I think 4% is a step in the right direction, and I think moving forward, when we sit down to negotiate the contracts, whether it's with salaried or non-salaried, that we take a better approach and a better look at it. I feel you guys did negotiate in good faith with the 5%, but I just personally think that that's out of line with the salary structure, because that's a lot on some of those salaries.
Understood.
Okay.
So that would be 883,125.
All right. If there's no further discussion, the clerk can call the roll. Oh, Councilman Kevin.
Well, I mean, I know you mentioned the benchmarking that our HR department did, but I don't know if we really shared those numbers around. Give them handy now. I did watch, I was watching the whole meeting. So I caught everything.
Yeah, the areas that were the positions that were looked at as particularly low were confidential secretary, senior account clerk, and laboratory director in terms of the median range. Of course, this was just kind of a ballpark benchmarking. But some of the positions were more out of the range than others. But I think it sounded like there was a desire to move with 4% rather than getting detailed for this year. Unless there's,
I'm just wondering if there's any feedback from the plant folks. Is that you mentioned that there were a couple positions that were particularly low, I think, Billy. Is there something you'd like to highlight there, or are we in danger of losing anyone?
No, we're not.
Okay,
So if there's, okay, so we'll move.
any other thoughts on that?
yeah.
No, okay,
Move forward with the
4%.
vote on 4%.
Again, Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Oh.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Mayor Meany,
Aye.
Trustee Brown,
Aye.
Trustee Giblin,
Aye.
sorry, and Trustee, excuse me, I'm learning everybody's names, Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 8-1. Not pass.
So it failed. Okay, thank you. All right, so now we're considering the board member stipend. I'm gonna try and turn to the page so that I'm not reading the handwriting. ES 8130.54412 board member services. And I'll request if there's a motion.
Well, yeah. I guess I would make a motion where we could restructure when they're going in for looking at the bills, for lack of a better term, instead of once a week where they could go every other week, and we could cut that in half, or even take guidance from the business manager on certain things where one person's going in and then claiming that it's a committee meeting and putting that in for an expense. I don't know if that's a good way of doing business, or if that's an accurate way to, portray what a committee meeting is. In my mind, a committee meeting is more than one person.
Agreed.
So Billy, I don't know if you've got any guidance on,
Our
because you said
folks-
everything, they're $150 a month, that there's certain things that could be lumped into that $150 a month.
Yeah,
Are folks hitting the cap?
excuse me,
Are folks hitting the cap, board members?
not all of them, no.
The
Three
majority of
them
them?
are. 3 of the 6.
They all show, do they all?
3 out of
6.
it's half.
Yeah.
Well, 7, board's got 7 members,
6.
6.
So what if it's 3 votes? How do you have 6 on a board?
Okay, all right,
6.
6. Yeah, that's right, yeah. I don't know why I thought there was a third. To see what the board members. Yeah.
So can you repeat that? Was there a motion to?
Well, I don't think that it's an accurate, or it's a good expense for somebody to go in for 5 minutes or 10 minutes to look at. I don't know, for us, for Johnson City, we review all the bills before every abstract, and that's a well over an hour process. Mostly it's close to 2 hours if you're going through them and doing your due diligence, and we're talking a stack of bills this big, where 20 bills is really something that could be handled. You could push that out to doing it twice a month instead of 4 times a month, and that would cut that expense in half for the people that are hitting the cap.
Because of the lag, the amount of time between the time we get a bill and the time that it's actually paid, we have to do it once a week, or we'll be late on invoices, because we do it 1 week, it goes down to the city, and the check doesn't get processed until the following week. So, unless we can change the timeline so that when we submit bills, they get paid in the same week.
Okay.
I just note that the volume on a weekly basis is somewhere between 15 to 35. Typically, it's around 25, just so you know.
Okay.
And it does take at least 40 minutes in most cases.
Oh. Well, it's a good thing they're not reviewing the village bills, because they'd be there for a Sunday.
Is there any way to, with you mentioned on the payment timeframes, but most bills, at least the village sees, and I'm sure it's probably the same for the city, are due on a 30-day cycle. Is that not the case for those bills?
It's on a 30-day cycle, but by the time they get processed and paid, 2 weeks has gone by. Because we'll get it in 1 week, the board reviews it the next week, and then the following Friday is when it's paid.
So it's paid 2 weeks early from when it's due then?
1 week, mail time.
Now that you mentioned that half the board is hitting the cap, how far beyond the cap are they going? Are they just, is it a couple of dollars? Is it a lot of money
Significantly higher than the cap.
for the 3 board members?
Yeah,
Do they all sit on the same committees?
the 3 that review the bills. It's the chairman and 2 other board members.
I'm one of those 3. It's the finance committee in some cases and, board members are on more than one committee.
No, I understand, but I think going to a bid opening is beyond the scope of what a board member needs to put in a claim for. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think a board member, I don't go to bid openings and I'm the mayor, but that's what you rely on your staff for. And then your staff can report to you what happens at the bid openings.
Sorry to interject. Mr. Crum, can you identify yourself for people?
Sure,
listening?
I'm
Thank
Edward
you.
Crum, I'm a board member from City of Binghamton, Chair of the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
So what is the compensation at the current time for the chairman and the regular board members?
I've got a breakdown that I brought. I thought it was emailed, but if it's not, I'm happy to pass it around.
It should be in.
Thank you.
There's a section that's $150 a month. To do phone call, email, research, that type of thing. $75 a month for regular board members to be on committees. 83.33 for the chairman per month. And then there's other $100 each to go outside of Broome County, which doesn't happen often.
How often do they go outside the county to meet?
They haven't involved outside of their last year.
Sometimes if there's a meeting that the DEC requests, a board member or 2 might have to go to that. Remember, this is a joint board, so, we try to have a member from each municipality on a committee.
And the abstracts are falling under committee meetings?
Yes,
So only 3 of them are doing it then?
yes.
So only
You guys
3.
Talked about splitting that duty.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, go
Have
ahead.
you guys talked about splitting that duty up amongst all 6?
Sure, that, the review of the claims, it's not called an abstract, so I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. Is a function of the finance committee. And it's the members of the finance committee that review that. Other board members have the right and the opportunity to review, but that's very infrequent that happens.
So just help me understand this. This is a stipend on top of the salary for sitting on the board, or this is total
No.
compensation?
Total
Thank
compensation.
you.
Yeah, that's why there's a cap.
And what would be an example here at the bottom, reimbursed for any ordinary and necessary expenses approved for reimbursement by the remaining quorum of the board? What would be an example of something that the board says, sure, you could add additional fees on?
A few years back, there were depositions in one of the lawsuits, and I was a board member that had to go down to New York City for a couple of days. I was there with Mayor Maney at the same time.
I was not there.
Or no, I'm sorry.
Deputy Mayor
Trustee
Giblin, yes.
Giblin. Okay. So,
And this cap was just increased in 2023.
yes, it hadn't been increased in a while before that.
Right, 4 years.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of this discussion. Is there still an interest in making any changes relating to this?
I just thought for purposes of economy that it would, they could, cut your review of the bills or whatever you want to call it to once a month instead of twice, or twice a month instead of 4 times a month, but that's not a possibility.
Or put it under the 150 per month instead of committee meeting.
Right.
Why don't we make that 100 a month? It's kept at 150.
That is never used. Every time a board member does anything, they're paid $75. Except the board meetings, which is at 150 each.
So what you're saying is that to take the reviews and have that fall into the $150.
Per month.
Per
And the
month.
research and the emails and those types of items. If it's a committee meeting, then it should be a committee meeting.
Right.
Michelle, the secretary, knows when the committee meetings are being held, so those are the only ones that should be at $75. Anything else should be under the 150 per month, in my opinion.
No, yeah, you make a very good point. So my question is this a budgetary change or is this an operational change to the plant?
there's a section in the IMA that says that the stipend would be presented and approved along with the budget. I believe it's 12C in the IMA or somewhere around there.
So during the budget process, then we would have to change for the 150 to add more responsibilities that, the review and the phone calls and all of that fall into the 150 because it's not a true committee meeting.
If-
Yeah, I mean,
Sure, if that's your
what you wanted
direction,
to
sure.
do, I would propose that on A of the thing that got passed around, that just review and approval of the bills get added to that. So, yeah, so under A of the sheet that Mr. Crum passed around, that it would be added as review and approval of the bills. And he was exactly right on 12C for the IMA, by the way.
Trying to help.
And committee meetings will be actual committee.
Committee, correct, yes,
Well, and that already says that.
right.
Yep.
So I don't understand why anybody would put in for something that's not an actual committee meeting. I think that's kinda
Yeah.
improper.
Unless there was,
Inappropriate.
unless there was an assignment by a committee.
So Mayor, you want to make that as your motion then?
Yes, please, thank you. Mr.
Sorry to steal your
Coughlin.
thunder.
Yes, please.
So,
I'll
okay.
second it.
Yeah, I'm trying to recap the motion.
So do you want me to
Yeah,
summarize? Sure. So
please.
the motion would be to amend the stipend compensation structure to have bill paying and review fall under these services for the full calendar month at $150 per month, and have that no longer be considered, although I don't think it needs an additional change, as committee meetings.
Thank you. Is there a second to the mayor's motion? Seconded by trustee Walker. Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? If not, the clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Mayor Meany.
Aye.
Trustee Giblin.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 9-0.
This motion passes. All right. Thank you.
Are we gonna leave the compensation as it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that might
5%.
help. Pardon me?
We didn't get 4% approved.
No, I think he's
Oh,
talking
for
about
the-
changing for the board members,
Okay.
correct?
Okay.
I think with that reduction might bring it down. So they won't be hitting that. Right.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I would like to
Councilman Kavanaugh.
bounce back to something, bounce back to the overtime budget. ES 8130.51900.JS2, the hourly overtime. It's at 55,000, which is a slight decrease from this year. We've only expended 14,000 so far and only 34 in 2023. I'm wondering if that's a spot to shave off some, and then, if you're going over, if something happens and it requires significant overtime, then I think that's maybe an appropriate time to come back to the owners for an overtime adjustment out of contingency or something, rather than keeping, 20,000 extra in overtime.
The
Just a
amount
thought.
that we're showing here doesn't include Labor Day. And we also have a great deal of overtime for Thanksgiving. We have Thanksgiving Day, the day after Christmas. So,
Right, all
We
those
get a
things happened in
substantial-
2023.
excuse me,
All those things happened in 2023 too. Which you were still 20,000 under your proposal.
we also have a 5% increase for this year and again next year.
At least,
Yeah.
So it'd be 38,000.
like more like.
Just saying. Okay,
Any other interest in that topic?
no,
Okay. All right. So,
I guess I had one other question that was before I got here, and I apologize, but why has it been so long for why have you been working on RFP for insurance brokers for 5 months? It seems like the new insurance broker would broadly do the same thing the current insurance broker is doing for cheaper or offering other services. Is that?
Is this a board issue?
We can go into executive session.
can you say it into the microphone or someone over there repeat it? Sorry.
Sure how you want to word that.
I would just note that, the RFP, as chair of the finance committee, had gone around for comment. It's in for word processing and it's not a dead issue. It's being worked on.
Who's working on it?
5 months, it's a long time.
So, but who, right, is the committee working on it? Who's working on it?
It's on the desk of the confidential secretary.
So it hasn't gone to a committee yet.
Hmm.
And then it goes to the board.
Can we expedite the process?
I would love it if we could.
I don't understand. It sits on a desk of a secretary.
I wouldn't put it all on Michelle. I'll just say this, there are regular conversations between our council and the board members. Sometimes they don't agree on these things. So trying to do the edits on a document when you have two separate people saying two different things becomes very confusing. And this happened regularly when we try to bring an RFP to the board for approval. And the RFPs that I have brought since I started are taken from history. And for whatever reason, they end up getting stuck for months.
Sounds to me like the process needs to be changed.
All right, I'm guessing this is not a strictly budgetary issue, but maybe something that we need to explore further and maybe check in with our board reps too. Okay.
All right.
I'd also, one other thing, if we could get an actual answer on the insurance, the medical insurance increase, whether it was 17.5%, which we were worried about, or the 12 or 10.
I brought up an email that I
Yeah.
had from Excel is showing 10.5% in New York State. Now, I don't know if that's specific to upstate New York, if it encumbers, other parts of the state, but that's certainly something that your broker should be able to get you the exact information on.
Yes. We were told we'd have it. I'll follow up with them this week.
I mean, that changes some numbers, I would think. That's one of your biggest increases, right?
So the consensus that we would like more information on things like that before taking a vote on the budget.
I don't know. I guess for me, it would depend whether it actually will significantly impact the bottom line or potentially a rate increase at the end of the day or not, or whether we're talking rounding errors.
Right, Madam President, I don't know if you'd actually have that information in time, because we have to act on the budget. I don't know if you would have accurate information prior to us acting on it.
Speaking of action times, this was late, right? I mean, we got the budget late. What? Just,
That is correct.
yeah. So we're in a reduced time frame to act, I think, compared to regular years. Our Johnson City colleagues have done this more often than we have, so yeah.
Later in the year, right?
Personally, I haven't been at the last couple because I've had the
Your way.
good fortune of being out of town on a golf trip. Not so lucky this year.
It does seem a little later than the last 2 years.
I don't know the exact date, but it did seem that we had the budget approved earlier than where we stand today.
Late August and then first week September-ish. We had this meeting and finalized it, but that's what it is.
When does the budget have to be adopted by?
By the 24th of September.
Okay. So Councilman, I don't think you'd have a good answer on your insurance question by that time.
I think I agree, Mr. Mayor.
So is there a desire to vote on this as it's presented with our amendment relating to board payment structure?
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion,
Second,
second, trustee Walker. And any Final discussion?
Well, just also, Madam, the amendment to the, oh, never mind, the motion failed. So yes.
Thank you. The clerk can call the roll.
You voted on that?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh. Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Mayor Meany,
Aye.
Trustee Giblin,
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
That is 8-1. Thank you.
Simple, you're good.
Okay, so the budget passes.
Thank you
No,
so
I
much.
think
Yes.
we're all done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, to-
Is there a motion? Oh, is there a motion to adjourn?
just quickly, I'd
Nope.
like to go on record thanking the sewage treatment board and their committees for putting together the budget. I know putting budgets are very time consumptive and very nerve wracking. So thank you for all your hard work and again, entertaining a lot of the questions that came from me. I
You're
appreciate
very
it.
welcome.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I wanted to say something really quick. I wanted to say thank you for this part. I'm gonna see if our department heads can kind of do this because it like basically answered a lot of questions. I got it. Thank you so much. It was very neat and organized, so thank you so much for that. Hopefully, everybody else can adopt this same format. So thank you guys so much for this.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we had a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you
for
so
having
much,
us.
everybody.
And for city council members, we come back at 6.
I think that's the first time since I've been associated with the village. One meeting. Yeah. No, there's something funky. It's pretty.